Hi, I'm going to review Ubuntu, which I've installed into VirtualBox. This is VirtualBox right here. The reason I've done this is, although Ubuntu gives you the option to, install some sort of dual boot option where you can install, say if you've got Windows 10, you can partition a section of your C drive, your hard drive, and then do some sort of dual boot thing where you can flick between both. But just to try it out, I find this much faster to just install operating systems in virtual machines on VirtualBox to have a look at them. So I've already got it started, so let's just jump in. And this is the Ubuntu. So I'm going to click here and log in. Okay, so while waiting for that, one thing to note is what you want to do is go into your virtual machine settings and go into display and turn up your video memory. I turn mine up to 100 megabyte, otherwise it won't let you select the maximum resolution once you are in there, and that's just for VirtualBox, because as you see this graphics controller, that's the graphics card that comes with VirtualBox. Another thing you could do is click on System, and I've got 16 gigabytes of RAM, so because all your virtual machines in VirtualBox will be running off your RAM, it generally defaults to around about 2 gigabytes of RAM per virtual machine if you just accept all the defaults whilst you're creating the new machine. But I have, RAM to spare, so I've cranked that up to 10 gigabyte, so hopefully that does run a bit faster. So this is the Ubuntu Desktop. What you want to do when you get in and you just want to have a bit of a feel for it is right click and click on change background or display settings. Right now I'm just going to make the view a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go Control F to go full screen, and this is with VirtualBox, and to get out of it you hit Control F again. Also, if you go Control C, this scale mode, so this is what scale mode looks like. It'll do that. It'll scale it for you. So I'm just going to go with Control F and go into display settings, and you want to crank that up as high as it can go, and I'm just going to go to 200 just so it's a little bit easier for you to see. I wouldn't generally operate it off this. Now I'm going to go down here and click change background. So that was right click, sorry, I'll show you again, right click, change background, and it comes with about 7 different options of default backgrounds, backgrounds that are installed with the operating system. So let me see if I can flick through that while I show you. No. Yeah, this one now. So they're all quite nice pictures, and when I was using CentOS before, which is another Linux distribution, the backgrounds really weren't that good. So, and that was, but of course you can just go into Firefox, open up Google, and then type in, 4K wallpaper and bring up, these exact images really, but it's just nice to know it's there from the install. Okay, last two. So you got the white looking cat, but yeah, this is the one that comes by default. Apart from that, when you're in here and you say, okay, what do I do now? This is the desktop version. It's a Linux distribution called Ubuntu. Just to get a feel for it and other things is you click on this show applications right here. And here is everything available that you might want to look into. So all these applications is what's called, and the operating system itself, Ubuntu, is they're called open source, which means everything's free and every single application is free. So another thing you can do as well is, if you don't want to click on that and you just want to go straight to something, is hit the Windows button in between your Control and your Alt, and then you can start typing straight away and it'll go into the search bar. So I'm going to look up Ubuntu software. So here's everything you can have a flick through the categories and see what you like. I'm not going to show you right now because that would take a long time. You better to just come in here and get a feel for it yourself. Install things or remove them and don't be afraid to break it, especially if you're on VirtualBox. You won't actually break anything. Whilst I'm doing that, if I hit the Windows button again, this pops up on the right side. So this gives me, this is Linux basically giving you, encouraging multitasking. One other thing I want to point out right quick is that Linux is very popular, and because it's open source, and that means that everything's free. But the applications are actually really, really good. And like if you click on this, basically it's another version of, it's kind of like a version of Microsoft Word, but it's not. It's called LibreOffice Writer, and this is actually compatible with Microsoft Word. So what that means is, if you're doing work at work on Windows 10 and you're working on Microsoft Word and you want to email yourself that Word document, you can actually open it up here, and it will be compatible with this LibreOffice Writer, which is kind of like a rip-off version of Microsoft Word. Anyway, this is free, so you don't have to pay for Microsoft Office and a whole bunch of other things. So that's why I highly recommend coming in and seeing what you can download and having a look. Everything the more advanced users will use terminal to do many things, but you could run this entire computer off terminal, really, but this entire operating system off terminal. But that's the good thing about Linux now, is they're going a little bit more towards these really good-looking graphics user interfaces, which is exactly what you're looking at right now. That is basically it. I think it looks really good, and I really like how it's given VirtualBox the ability to go much higher with the resolution. One thing to note as well is you can't really just come in here and use VirtualBox now as your primary machine, like using this through your using Ubuntu through your virtual machine. And the reason for, you can, but the reason for that is you're better off to just install it as your primary, or over the metal, as they say, because if you see me doing this, that's called, and you see it looks a little bit blurry or jittery, that's called screen tear. So that means when you go into here and you open up YouTube and you try and watch videos when you're just using a virtual machine running off your RAM, that the screen tear will actually be a little bit annoying. So when you use VirtualBox, it's more so you can just come in and have a look and try things out and get a feel for them without really committing to installing it as your primary operating system on your computer that you're on right now. Okay, so let me Control F out of here. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and please leave a like and subscribe.